Cheers.
Welcome everybody. Hey. Welcome Toastmasters, guests, and viewers at home. We're glad to have you all this evening. On this beautiful Tuesday evening. It's been a rather warm day. Subtropical temperatures of some good 60s and mid 60s. Not too bad at all for February. We're right here, as we are every Tuesday, 7:45 p.m. right here at your local Fairfield Hy-Vee Club Room, right nearby the ice cream and all the other beautiful frozen goods. The mission of our Toastmasters Club, our mission is to provide a mutually supportive and positive learning environment in which every member has the opportunity to develop oral communication and leadership skills, which in turn foster self-confidence and personal growth. My name is Dennis Chomez. I'm the president of this club, and it is our pride to support these goals for everyone. Let's get the meeting all started up then. First of all, this manual right here, your club leadership manual, be sure you have it filled out for those of you who are role players for tonight. Also, be sure to turn your cell phones off. Let's get going and introduce our Toastmaster for the evening, Jean Symington Craig.
While she's turning off her device.
While she is turning off her device. She will be our Toastmaster for the evening. Jean has great experience at Toastmasters. She is a great addition to have to our club. Thank you. Give her a warm welcome.
You have all the, I'm just checking if I have all the roles, because I just, Will is the timing? Okay, just got that, and Fraser is Janet. Okay, great.
That's for you. Yep.
Great, okay. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so we're here, and we've got some great speeches for the evening. I'm really looking forward to what we've got tonight. But first, we're going to introduce our role players. First, I'd like to introduce our timer, Will Burns.
Thank you, Jean. As timer, it's my job to keep this meeting rolling on time. Actually, in point of fact, it's the president and Toastmaster who keep the meeting rolling on time. I provide them the resources by keeping the time for your benefit and for theirs. Number of things I'll be timing. Table topics. With this stopwatch right here, I'll give you a green at 1 minute, the amber at 1:30, and the red at 2 minutes. For the speech evaluations, green at 2, amber at 2:30, and the red at 3. For speeches, we have a number of speeches. I just want to make sure, Dennis, you're speaking from 6 to 8?
Yep.
Okay. D, from 4 to 6? Yes. Good deal. And Peter, 5 to 7. Okay. I will give you the green, amber, and red at those times respectively. And I will give a report at the end. Bear in mind that for table topics, you have a 30-second grace period, and you must speak at least a minute to qualify. Thank you.
Mr. Timer, just one thing, because
Yeah.
you're so sharp and efficient. Some of us are a little slower.
Okay.
Could you just run through when you'll do the green, yellow, and red for each of those speech
For the speakers.
times so that the speakers are really clear?
Madam Toastmaster, times for each of the speakers. Dennis will get the green light at 6, the amber at 7, and the red at 8. Dee will get the green at 4, the amber at 5, and the red at 6. Peter will get the green at 5, the amber at 6, and the red at 7. Bear in mind that you get a 30-second grace period after that. So the maximum you can speak for Dennis, 8:30, for Dee, 6:30, and for Peter, 7:30. Thank you.
Great, great. Thank you, thank you.
Oh, that's the maximum amount of time that you can speak. Yeah, after that you are disqualified.
Oh, if I go
So,
over 6:30, I'm just well.
that's right. So if you see the red light, finish up. But you have 30 seconds to finish up. Which
So
is
I see the yellow light, just one step.
That's probably a good idea, yeah. Good policy.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Timer.
My pleasure.
We had a lot of different times there, so I thought we wanted to make really sure. By the way, I can't clap, so, I'll go like this, and that means everybody else claps.
All right, yeah.
Good. We also have our counter for the evening, Fraser Jones. Fraser, would you please tell us?
It's me.
Oh, sorry, you know what? Sorry, no, you just,
Miriam.
I know you're, so hang on. Let's go with the counter, because that's what I said. So Janet, would you please tell us about your role tonight?
Yes.
What you'll be counting?
Okay, we'll be counting uhs, ahs, ums, likes, you know, so's, buts, ands, tongue clicks. And a false start. I don't know about the Xerox, what that would be.
Repeat.
It's kind of a repeat.
Oh,
It's kinda
repeating
like
yourself.
repeat. It's
Yeah,
kind
there's
of,
Xerox.
when you start a sentence,
Ah.
start a sentence.
Okay, good to know. Thank you. That's new to me.
Okay, now, are these things that you're counting, are they something that you want to get a lot of, or not so many?
Not so many.
Okay, so we're going for 0 is
Yeah.
better than
Mm-hmm.
lots. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're all clear on what not to do. Okay. Now, I'll get to the grammarian, who is Fraser. Tell us about your role.
I'm the grammarian for this meeting, and I've selected a word for the day, which I'll be looking out for speakers using. And the word for the day is tenacious. It's tending to keep a firm hold of something, or clinging or adhering closely. And example is, you are tenacious and you get at the truth. Also, I'll be looking for examples of good language and examples of good use of words. And I'll be giving a report at the end of the meeting.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Fraser. These are all very important roles. Our general evaluator for the evening, we'll hear from him later, is Hudaifa Shatnawi. Janet, I did a little just to give you a practice. Janet.
What?
I did a little just to give you, start to tune the ears for that. Okay. You don't need to count if you don't want it, but our greeter joke master will be Dennis, and we'll figure that out in terms of collecting ballots, no big deal. All right, we're ready to head into.
What is the meeting theme tonight? Did I hear that? I didn't know.
The meeting theme is Mardi Gras, also known as Fat Tuesday. That is a Lent celebratory themes. The quote is, "There's something about it that makes sense. Lent, you give something up and everything's more joyful." So you can think about that. All right, back onto our track here. The Toastmaster, which is me, I'm going to evaluate our first speaker. Our first speaker is Dennis Gomez. Dennis is going to be doing a module tonight. It's called the Distinguished Club Program. It's from our Successful Club series, which is what Toastmasters International has, a series of modules that they want clubs to be educated on from time to time. You're allowed to take your own words, put things into perspective, but that's basically where Dennis is going to be communicating from tonight. Dennis is proud to be from Fargo, North Dakota, a place known for having a beautiful climate. He's also very proud of his local Golden Speakers Toastmasters Club for being the first to achieve Distinguished Club Program, or that's DCP, goals consistently in Iowa. In general, Dennis enjoys seeing development in everyone, including himself, and that is why he looks forward to speaking with you about the DCP goals tonight. His title this evening is, where is the title? This is an old, his title is DCP, easy as 1, 2, 3. And it sounds to me like Dennis is tenacious about development and making sure that we all understand the value of Toastmasters. Please help me warmly welcome Dennis Gomez.
Toastmasters, guests, and viewers at home, be number one. Be number one. Everybody says you want to be number one, but what does it really mean? Well, when it comes to, for our club, DCP goals are as easy as 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to show you how. Because this is a solid way. It's the backbone of our club to show the progress that we make. We develop our members. We bring more members every single year. The DCP, Distinguished Club Program, is the level of proficiency that we strive for every day as Toastmasters. I'm going to go over DCP goals and why, and explain why they are as easy as 1, 2, 3. Let's tackle, first of all, what exactly is a DCP goal? What exactly is DCP?
Yeah.
Why does it matter? Why does it matter to any of us? Why does it matter to me? To you? And how can we make DCP a reality as we have consistently as a club? First, we need to identify what exactly is a DCP, Distinguished Club Program. This beautiful poster right over here shows various types of goals that we must accomplish as soon as possible at the beginning of every fiscal year of our club. DCP stands for Distinguished Club Program. Based on the material that one can read on Toastmasters.org, it is the backbone of successful clubs. As I've experienced myself and I've seen, it maintains the club's growth. It is something to strive for every single year to achieve as quick as possible and to achieve with the level of proficiency that we want. That being said, DCP goals are just one part of a complete club. A real club, if we strive to be the best we are, is to strive every single day to keep improving oneself, even when you achieve the DCP goals. What's the big deal with DCP in general? Well, why does DCP matter to all of us? Other than, oh, it's just a ribbon, so what? Well, why does it signify something that's significant to all of us? But the tenacity we need to pursue it every single year and every single day. Being number one in Iowa is a start. That's a reason. We want to show ourselves as having these ribbons. That's something to be proud about. Not only do we get the DCP goal, we get the President's Distinguished Club, which means we have at least 9 of these met. And we also often are getting these goals done, the first of everybody in the state. That's an accomplishment. Pride is important. Going ahead with that, recognition with development is key to everyone's development. Organized goal setting is something that all of us can appreciate. When you're a child, you may have not set goals at first, but as you grow up, you learn sometimes you really need to look inside yourself and you have to realize, yeah, this is what I want. You have to set that goal. You have to make it a reality. DCP goals are a reality for our club that we need to continue to accomplish tenaciously. Also, we need to keep our club members proud and confident. The DCP goals pushes every single club, whether you are a very experienced club, whether you are a beginning fledgling club. DCP goals make sure that you need to develop your members. Your newest members must be developed. They must feel like they're part of a team. They must feel like they are going to be part of a team that's adding more people, that's adding their friends, their community members. That is the goal of our DCP. How do we keep up this momentum? Momentum keeps on rolling. Just because we got the DCP goals for this year doesn't mean we stop. We keep going. How do we make the DCP a reality? So what exactly does it mean to accomplish it? The best way, really, and feel free to stop by at the end of the meeting to look at all these carefully. I'll leave them on the table over there. There are 10 goals officially. But what I'm going to do is break them down into just 6 areas to really simplify what's going on here. So when we start in the fiscal year, say of July of every year, what we want to do is, number 1, we need to have 4 members finish their competent communicator manual. So goal number 1 and number 2. 2 CC awards, and then 2 more CC awards. That's our first thing. Finish 4 competent communicator manuals. Number 2, our second goal, we need to get 2 advanced communicator manuals complete by our members. The third part is the competent leadership. Competent leadership manuals or awards must be accomplished by at least 2 members within the fiscal year. After that, for the 4th area, we need to add new members. We need to add 8 new members every single year, at least. This means we need to recruit our community members, our friends, everyone, friends, rivals, everybody. You tell them, come on over here to Toastmasters. It'll be a great experience for everybody. Really increase the competition everywhere for everything you want to go into, in your community, in your school. Drives the market. Officer training is another thing. We need to make sure that officer training is done for 2 sessions. And after that, it's simply membership dues need to be done, need to be on time, and officers' lists need to be complete. That's on the officers themselves. So we go over that sheet right there. So while the DCP goals being met is simple, remember it is only 1 basic level of proficiency. It's like the backbone. You grow with your backbone. Just because you have a backbone doesn't mean you're going to be the best at what you are until you really work hard at it. Likewise, you get DCP, it's just the beginning. Keep going, improving every single day. What does DCP mean? Everybody repeat it.
Distinguished
Club Program.
There you go, you got it. So you know exactly what DCP is, why does it matter, and how can we make it a reality. Keeping number 1, achieve DCP. It's easy, just 1, 2, 3. Madame Toastmaster.
Question.
No, you can't.
Oh, you can.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
All righty. So, Mr. Timer, would we please have 2 minutes to evaluate Dennis? All right, we back? Good. Our next evaluator is Dan Craig. He'll be reading the objectives for our next speaker, Dee Stauffer. Please help me warmly welcome Dan.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, viewers at home. Tonight, Dee Stauffer is going to be giving his first project, the icebreaker speech. Let me read just briefly the objectives as they appear in the manual. They are to begin speaking before an audience and to discover speaking skills that you already have and skills that need some attention. The time's going to be 4 to 6 minutes. Dee moved to Fairfield in 1980, and he left Fairfield for 12 years in 1997, returned again in 2009. He's going to be speaking tonight about his experience working at his family's business, building 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes. This was at the age of 11 through 18. In the younger years, ages 11 through 13, one of his jobs was that of a gopher, spelled with a PH. He'll explain that later during his talk. The title of Dee's talk is going to be The Value of Responsibility for Kids. Please help me warmly welcome Dee Stauffer.
So I thought about this a little bit deeper in terms of what happened the last week in Florida, as you're all probably aware of that. So when I was,
You're starting now, right?
yeah. So my uncle, Owen, so all my aunts and uncles had more like Anglo-Saxon names. One of my uncles was named Owen. My grandfather's name was Elmer. My father's name was Delbert. Not your ordinary names you find around here. But at 11 years old, I started working on the job site. And, these are older men. Some of them came from, I lived in southeastern Ohio. They came up from Kentucky. And some of them, drank a lot. These were more rough kind of gentlemen that I was around. But my mother, bless her heart, wanted to make sure that when I was at the job site, my feet were secure. So she bought me these shoes that looked like they were snowshoes. They were big shoes. And if you're familiar with construction workers, they're always ribbing each other, right? So some of the workers would kid me about my shoes, and they said, so these were homes that they built were slab homes. There was no basement. They poured concrete. And they told me that what I needed to do was walk around the building and tap with my feet to make sure the ground was nice and compact, right? Some of the interesting people on the job site were people from that ilk, that kind of culture. I remember one of the guys, his name was Slim Cop. Now, Slim wasn't Slim. He was named Slim for a different reason. And I remember him, so he was, sometimes I carried hod. I don't know if you know what hod is. It's just, yeah, right. So I would come up there, and he was the bricklayer, and he would lay the bricks down. And there would always be like a bead of sweat coming down his nose, and it would kind of hang there for a while. And I'd sit there and watch, wait for it to drop off. Another interesting worker there, his name was Sleepy Nelson, because he always looked like he was just about to fall asleep. And of course, in this culture, you have men, well, when men were men and sheep were nervous, right? And so Sleepy would be sawing a board, and he always had a cigarette in his mouth, right? And the smoke would come out the end of the cigarette and would come up along the saw he was sawing. It would come up around his eye, and his eye was going like that. He was sawing the wood. But one of my favorite things to do when I was there is there was a truck. So when I was 11 years old, I started driving a truck. So, and it's automatic. It was, it's a stick shift truck. And one of my roles to do was at a job site, when you build a house, there's a lot of trash around from sheetrock and, from boards and stuff. And so I got to drive the truck. I pulled all the stuff in the truck, and we had a large area that they owned. There was a creek nearby, and there was a dump. So I would drive, the truck down and unload all the trash out and come back. And the point of all this is, in a way, is it made me at a young age to be responsible for my actions and stuff. And one of the other workers there, as I mentioned, was Slim Cop, and Slim wasn't slim, by the way. And I often carried hod for him. The other thing that happened during that time in building the houses is our family built a public swimming pool, about 3 times the size of this pool out here. It was built by my uncle and my grandfather. And there was a concession stand. And I drove down there, I got food for some of the workers. So this is a little bit of my political feelings. Two of the workers that were there were called Amos and Ike. Guess what their ethnic background was? So this is rural Ohio, very conservative. And at the time I was being more kind of liberal in my views. I was starting to form my ideas. And often we would go down and get lunch at the concession stand where they had snow cones and all kinds of chili dogs and stuff. And I would take Amos down there, who looked like Buckwheat. If you remember Buckwheat from the Little Rascals, this guy had scars on his neck and stuff because he'd been in fights. And I told him to get in the truck door. And my father and my uncle had a fit. He's not going to, get in that truck. So he had to sit in the back of the truck in the bed as I drove down there. And when I got down there, he had to stay in the truck. So I would go out and get the food and bring it back to him. And I guess that was sort of the beginning of forming some of my ideas about society and political people. And I'm kind of segue into what's happened just recently in Florida with the things that happened there. So the point of all this is at an early age, I learned to be responsible. I learned the value of an honest day's work. I learned the value of money and saving money because I paid for my first year in college by the money I'd saved. I was making $1.50 an hour.
Wow.
So that was $60 a week, maybe $200 a month. And I valued that experience I had with, my grandparents and my parents and being on the job and working. Okay?
Good.
There's a yellow light, so.
I gotta get up. Here we go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Yes, Mr. Timer, could we please have 2 minutes to evaluate our speaker? On these evaluation forms, please put your name at the bottom, just, jot your first name, so the speakers can get with you and maybe ask you something. Anyway, it's just fun to also know who's giving you your feedback and what they enjoyed and suggestions they had. Our next speaker, final speaker, is going to be Peter Armstrong, and his evaluator is Emery Styron. Emery will read Peter's evaluation criteria and also introduce him. So please help me warmly welcome Emery.
Thank you, Jean, and good evening, fellow Toastmasters and viewers at home. Peter will be speaking tonight from the Competent Communicator Manual. He's fairly early in his Toastmasters journey. He's on project number 3. Get to the point. So every speech must have a general and a specific purpose, whether to persuade, entertain, inform, or inspire. So he's going to, we hope, have a general and a specific purpose and be well organized. His objectives are to select a topic and determine its purposes, organize the speech in a manner that best achieves those purposes, ensure that the beginning, body, and conclusion reinforces the purposes, and to project sincerity and conviction, and control any nervousness he may feel. And Peter will be striving not to use notes. A little about Peter. Peter is a newly retired software engineer who's spending some time reading up on interesting historical byways. Tonight he will be speaking on how 3 royal cousins led Europe into World War I. Please welcome Peter.
Fellow Toastmasters, honored guest, viewers at home. The purpose of this speech is just to present something that I found to be interesting and hopefully you will find to be interesting. That's the entire purpose of the talk. And I was led to do this by reading a particular book and some articles around it. World War I was 100 years ago, so it's hard to work up a real bead of perspiration about what happened then. But at the same time, it had big effects that arguably lasted for 50 years or more. In fact, there are still people in France clearing mines and shells from the battlefields of World War I. Forget about World War II. So just on that level, there's a certain amount of activity still going on. Everybody's heard about all the causes of World War I: nationalism, imperialism, something else, I forget what. Whatever they all are, that's not what I'm talking about. What I am talking about is family matters, family relationships. And the royal families of Europe in the late 1800s and early 1900s had plenty of family relationships, and they tended to be with other royal families. If they ran out of royalty in their own country and they had a daughter or a son, especially a second son who needed to be married off somewhere, they very often married them to another country. And as a result, there were all sorts of cousins and relationships going on, aunts, uncles. So let's begin with Queen Victoria. She was the queen, 64-year reign. It's from the late 1830s up until 1901. She had 9 children. They all had to be married. And one of her children married a Danish princess and was in line to become king after she passed away. Another daughter married a prince in Germany. And a third daughter, I forget who she married, but we'll get there in a minute. Eventually, her children, Victoria's children, had grandchildren. The first one I'll talk about is George, her grandchild. Obviously, she spent a lot of time with him. She liked her grandchild. He himself would be king someday. And she spent time with him appropriately. Another grandchild, her first, was Wilhelm. He was a son of a German king and Victoria's eldest daughter. She spent a lot of time with him too. He would come and visit, and she would spend time with him. And she was trying to inculcate values into him because she knew he was going to be a powerful person when he grew up. And there was another, not grandchild, but another cousin who was, I have to cheat and look at the family tree. It's too complicated. His name was Nicholas. He was from Russia, and he was the daughter of a Danish princess. Just like George, Victoria's grandson, was the daughter of another Danish princess. Those two princesses were sisters. So Nicholas was related. So George had a cousin Nicholas through his mother. Anyway, they were cousins. And he had a different cousin, Wilhelm. That's the main point to take away. Now, out of those 3 cousins, Victoria spent the least amount of time. Let's see, how do I say this? Out of those 3 cousins, the relationships weren't completely equal. This is what's key. George was a first cousin of Wilhelm, but he didn't see that much of him growing up. Why? Because Victoria, for some reason, never wanted more than one family of grandchildren around her at the same time. So if George was visiting, Wilhelm wasn't there at the time. And as they grew up, they never saw each other that much as a result. On the other hand, Nicholas wasn't a grandchild of Victoria's. Nicholas had a different relationship to the mothers. And so he could be there at the same time as George was there. They got to be good friends. And sure enough, later on, there were alliances between Britain and Russia, and they weren't always comfortable, but they were able to keep it kind of on a friendly level as much as possible. But Wilhelm was always kind of the odd guy out. His cousins the cousins kept in touch, but he wasn't ever really part of the gang. And the relationships were kind of frosty, actually, between George, the Englishman, and Wilhelm, the German. And so, because of the relationships, because there was a good, and because of the fact that George only had a good relationship with one of his cousins, Wilhelm had tried to make a good relationship with Nicholas, but it didn't fly very well. Nicholas wasn't that helpful, you know, he was angry at Wilhelm. So basically Wilhelm was odd man out, and he finally gave up trying to be friendly to his cousins. And it could have been different if they had slumber parties and done it, you know, arguably it could have been different. We don't know how it would have turned out, but it was certainly a contributing, you know, something that arguably didn't help matters. There were plenty of other things going on, but family relationships and how families, you know, some families can't even get together properly at Thanksgiving without going. But if you're also a king and you've got a lot of national interests, it gets even harder, especially if you don't know your cousins well, or if you know them too well and don't like them. So I'll argue that that was a cause also of World War I, contributing factor. Thank you.
Mr. Timer, would you please tell us which of our speakers qualified?
Dennis, Dee, and Peter qualified.
Excellent. All right, good job. So fellow Toastmasters, if you could take your ballot. Okay, so let's keep rolling. Next, I'd like to welcome up our general evaluator, Hudaifa, who will be conducting the evaluation section of our meeting. Thank you.
Fellow Toastmasters, our guests, and our speakers. We're turning to the evaluation section of this meeting, and we'll start with calling Dennis evaluator, Miss Jean. Could you, please, yeah, warmly welcome Miss Jean.
Yeah, good. Thank you. First time being general evaluator, you have to get the neurons all working in sync. Fellow Toastmasters, guests, and viewers at home, it was my pleasure tonight to evaluate Dennis Gomez, the president of Golden Speakers, as he presents to us the Distinguished Club program, which is really, as he said, the backbone of goal setting and achievement, both for our individuals in the club and also for the club as a whole. I'm going to mention some things. There's not specific evaluation criteria, so I'm going to evaluate this as a basic speech. He had a title. I always like to see titles. If you are doing a speech and you don't have a title, you're missing an opportunity. So he had a title, and it was in the agenda, so that means he submitted it early enough to get it in there. And then he laid out what he was going to be talking about. Again, telling us what he's going to tell us about. He's going to tell us what is the DCP, why do we want it, and how do we get it. So those are clear organizing points right there. Dennis was engaging with the audience, and he knows we're all Toastmasters. So we have an interest in this, just by default. Because we're both members, we want to achieve individually, and we also want to achieve as a club. Dennis used that graph over there, that page. This would be one suggestion that I would give to him. It's a little hard to see. Could you guys in the back see what was going on that? Okay. That is a tracking device for the club to use for DCP. It's not quite as good for a full presentation. The suggestion I would have made for Dennis would be to get one of those cheap flip charts and to have each goal as you're getting there, and then you could flip the page very big, and it keeps everybody's focus on the flip chart. If you didn't want to use a PowerPoint, which I completely understand. So I'd put each goal on a separate page. The second suggestion would be, I would want Dennis to explain that the Toastmaster year starts from July 1 and goes to June 30th, so that you understand when he was talking fiscal year, that's the time frame that we're talking about. And then I would have liked him to have also used Golden Speakers as an example of, because we have completed all our DCP goals and we're way ahead of July 1st. So a little bit showing how our club functions and how we meet those goals. And in the same way, by way of example, with all these, CCs and CLs and, competent communicators and all that, would be possibly, this is a suggestion, to identify the people who met the criteria for this year's DCP completion and just say, oh, for example, Will did a yut, or Dan did a advanced communicator, like that, just to kind of really make it personal. But other than that, I thought he did a good job. It is our responsibility to step up and, through our own individual achievements, help the club. So Dennis will be working with with us on that in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Turning to next evaluation. D's evaluator, Mr. Dan Craig.
Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, honored guest, viewers at home, and especially Dee. The objectives of this project for Dee were to begin speaking before an audience and to see what good qualities you already had and if there was anything that he could work on. And I want to congratulate Dee for a great start. I'm going to give you my opinion of how he did on the project. It asked first, what strong points does the speaker already have? Well, right away we could see and hear that Dee has a nice, easy manner in front of the room. He moved his hands expressively as he spoke. He has a good, strong voice. And he started telling us stories. That's usually the backbone of a really nice talk. So I enjoyed seeing right away how good a storyteller Dee is. How well did the audience get to know the speaker? This was very well done through the use of the stories, in telling the stories about working on the job site with the various characters that were there and the things that he ran into. He began to show us how he formed some of his opinions and life lessons. That worked out very well. Did the speech reflect adequate preparation? Yes, it seemed to. There were no pauses or searching for what to say or no long looks at notes. So he knew what he wanted to say. Did the speaker talk clearly and audibly? Yes, very much. Did the speech have a definite opening, body, and conclusion? The elements were there. I think that could have improved a little, but that's really the focus of the second project. So you'll get to that soon. Please comment on the speaker's use of notes. Very well done. You hardly used them at all. What could the speaker have done differently to improve the speech? In my opinion, one thing you could watch for is to remember to speak to everyone in the room. There were a couple of people standing over in the corner there, and it tends to draw your eye over there. So I thought you spoke a little more over here because there were more people and more standing people. What did you like about the presentation? As I said before, I liked very much that he told us stories. Very strong. And he really painted vivid word pictures. I'm sure we could all see the guy with the cigarette in his mouth, sawing the board. It was really quite good. So we were drawn in by those vivid stories, and in the course of that, Dee told us about his values and how it is that he experienced and therefore he feels how important it is for kids to take responsibility and learn from that. Very well done. We look forward to your next talk.
And for our third evaluation, we have Peter's evaluator, Mr. Emery.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, guests, and viewers at home. Peter's assignment was to get to the point, and boy, did he get to the point. How three cousins, royal cousins, led Europe into World War II. World War I, I'm sorry. I'm going to go through the manual and point out some things and identify the criteria. The general purpose of the speech was that clear. He just laid it right out there for us that he wanted to tell us something interesting. And it was, to me, very interesting. I love learning new things and coming to Toastmasters and learning new things, and Peter delivered on telling us something interesting. Specific purpose was to explain how family relationships were a cause, if not the cause, a cause of World War I. And he did that very well, so I rate him high on that. Did the speech organization support the purpose? Yes, it was quite to the point. You jumped right into it after your introduction and explaining Queen Victoria and her children and grandchildren and some, I guess, great nieces and nephews, apparently. So did the main points and supporting material support the purpose? Yes, it did. And the beginning, body, and conclusion did as well. So I said, yes, Peter did achieve his specific purpose of explaining that. In addition, did he appear confident and sincere? Sincere, yes. A little bit of nervousness to me. And did he rely on notes? A little bit. Not overly, but you checked once or twice, which really was not too distracting. What could the speaker have done differently to make the speech more effective? I think you're to the point in your Toastmasters career where you can move a bit on the stage as you go through your main points. Your pictures, I think if you'd simply taped them side by side on the lectern as you started and referred to them, that would have been very effective, much more so than handing them out afterwards. And I think a statement in there that I'm not going to belabor the stories you've all heard about the assassination of the Archduke, but I'm going to tell you a little background that will help you put that into context. What did I like about the presentation? You have a good-humored kind of persona up here that I really enjoy, and I really like how you put this momentous world event that still is affecting us 100 years later into a context we can all understand. Family tensions, jealousy, odd person out. So that was very effective. So all in all, a great job, Peter, and look forward to hearing more of your speeches, Mr. Evaluator.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Now we're turning to the table topics part of our meeting tonight, and our table topics master today, Mr. Will Burns. Please warmly welcome Mr. Will.
All right.
Thank
Point of information, Madam Toastmaster, do we have a table topics evaluator tonight? I
don't have my.
just noticed that we had.
Oh, yeah. Was it? And it's missing.
I can do that, Will, if we need one.
Yeah, I was just checking.
Let's just see, because you're already an evaluator once.
We got Veda back there.
All right, Beta's gonna do it. Are you ready?
Great.
Jump in, okay?
Veda will do
Beta's
it.
gonna do it, just for some variety.
Thank you very much, Veda, for doing that. Okay, table topics. For those of you that know and those of you that don't know, is your chance to speak off the cuff. And when I say you, I mean you. If you're a Toastmaster, if you're a guest, if you're a viewer at home, you can run down here in the next 10 minutes and do a table topic here today. Once again, the time on that is going to be 1 minute for the green light. When you see that green light, you're good to go. That means that you've qualified. Which basically just means that you've given a 1 minute speech about the topic. I have a number of questions here. You can talk about it. Or if you decide that my question is totally irrelevant to you, doesn't even have any bearing of any measure, you can segue. So that's an option. Do I have a volunteer?
Okay.
Come on up. Please come up here and your name. Good. Okay, I have 5 questions. I'll let you pick a number from 1 to 5.
Okay. 6.
6. All right. What is the best party you've ever attended? Why? If you don't recall one, please tell us about an event you would like to attend.
Best party I ever attended.
Best event.
Best event?
All right.
Okay.
Clap.
Oh yeah, by the way, you can take 30 seconds to think about it if you want. So
Okay.
Don't feel rushed.
All right, cool. Good evening, Toastmasters, honored guests, people at home. One of the best events that I attended was my own surprise birthday party. My wife put it together for me about 2 years ago. This time she wasn't my wife. Actually, no, it was 3 years ago. She was my girlfriend at the time. And I had never had a surprise party before. And it was one of the most loving and just enjoyable evenings of my life. I was new to Fairfield. I was probably here about a year, I believe. And all of my friends from MUM and just people that I've started to meet in the community were at the house that I was staying at. And we had a damn good time the entire night. There was a lot of love, a lot of good times, a lot of laughs. And they brought me out a cake. Everybody sang happy birthday. And I rapped, so I rapped to them as I was giving out, as I said my wish. So it was a great time, good time. And at the house that I was staying at, it was the first time that the house owner had a party of that magnitude there. I don't know how many people were there, probably over like 30, 40 people in this house. And so it was very good. And I'll never forget it. I actually had another surprise birthday party for my birthday this year. And so my wife always tries to surprise me, but I'm very in tune, so yeah, that was about it. Thank you.
I imagine each year it gets a little more challenging to surprise you.
I know.
And, do I have another volunteer from the audience? Peter, come on up, sir. 1 to 4.
3.
What is your theme song? Why do you feel this song speaks to your life or your personality? I actually remember you did a speech one time about music, about classical music.
Good, yes. Does the theme song have words?
I don't think it has to.
Leaving aside the happy birthday song and any other overly used songs, I'm going to say that my theme song is something called You're Still the One I Love by Shania Twain, none other than Shania Twain. And I like it. You know, I liked it when it first came out. I will not try your patience by performing it here at this time. I haven't even memorized the words. I don't think of it often, but when I do think of it, it makes me happy. It's, you know, you're still the one I love, you're the one I come home to, the one that, you know, basically Shania in the song is talking about coming home and having a relationship with someone and she's happy with it. And so that speaks to me. I like it. I'm happy to have that as my theme song. It's the one I can think of right now. Thank
Thank you, Peter. Okay, I'm going to keep going here until a Toastmaster cuts me off. So who's next here? Hudaifa, come on up, sir. Okay, 1, 2, or 4?
2.
2. Do you prefer to explore a new city or a new wilderness location?
Again.
Why? Do you prefer to explore a new city or a new wilderness location, somewhere out in the wild, away from civilization, away from lights and all that? Why?
Fellow Toastmasters, Mr. Table Topics Master, our guest, and viewers at home. Usually I would like to explore wild, but since I live here in Fairfield for this is my 5th year, so now I feel like I want to explore more civilizations. I want to see people. I want to interact with different kind of people. I'm full with nature now here, especially if you work or study at MUM. It's kind of nature. You will find animals everywhere, but you will not find kids. You will not find facilities for families, for teenagers, even for adults. It's all about old people. So I wish I will have a good trip to somewhere, because this is my 5th year in the United States, and I only visit Chicago, St. Louis, Kansas City, only. So I think if I stay in this rhythm, I need maybe 200 years to explore the whole country, which is too much, So I have to find some way to explore more cities. Thank you.
And just a friendly reminder, Hudaifa, the Twin Cities are only 6 hours away. In addition to the Twin Cities, Minneapolis and St. Paul, about 6 hours away from here. One of the nice things about Fairfield, it's got right in the middle between Chicago, Twin Cities, Kansas City, St. Louis. Yeah. Come on. Yep.
We're done.
We are done. my pleasure to call up probably our table topics evaluator. Before all that, we're actually going to vote for the best table topics speaker. Who qualified, sir?
Everyone qualified.
What does it?
Okay.
Would you repeat your name?
Good.
What's that?
Good.
Good.
Yeah, good. Peter Badaifa.
Please vote for Good, Peter, or Hudaifa. Okay. And now it's my pleasure to call up Veda, our table topics evaluator.
Mr. Table Topic Master, fellow Toastmasters, guests, and viewers at home. 3 tremendously great topics tonight. I'd say right in the middle between novice and completely expert. I've seen some slightly better nights, but I've seen most clubs would be way below the level that we're operating at. I also noticed, just as a general note, all 3 of the topics people did well with their gestures. We started with Trey, and he had his gestures out. He had a great introduction. He had a great body on his speech, and we got a feeling that there was a conclusion about on the feeling level. My main suggestion to Trey would be to be stronger, a little less tentative when you come out. Just the act of speaking up can be helpful. Peter was clasping his hands behind his back, so that would be a suggestion to be careful about where your hands are. He had a great answer, and he did not have so much content, but my suggestion, I guess, is it would be easy to figure out something to say more. It would be easier to take the question a little further, like, if you're still the one I love, either someone you love or someone who loves you, maybe specifically, so it's personalized. But otherwise, a great job, very clear, good vocal variety, good eye contact. Hudaifa also had great, incredibly great gestures, eye contact, feels very comfortable with the audience. Just a tremendously confident speaker from the time I first seen you. There was not a lot of content. Also, I don't know how it could have been expanded, but perhaps more about why you prefer the city, or more about that. But overall, there was very little to improve on any of these speeches. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Call it the general evaluator.
General evaluator can come back now.
Yep.
Thank you.
So we're close to finish our meeting tonight. So
Did you vote for Skyway?
yeah, but first I want to ask the timer for who's
Of course.
qualified.
Thank you.
Whoa.
Great. Wow,
Whoa,
nice.
nice,
Okay, wow.
yes.
So, like,
Whoa.
okay. All right. All of them qualified. Their names are Jean, Dan, Emery, and Veda.
Okay, so could you please take a moment to evaluate the evaluators, or vote for the evaluators? Okay, done. So, Mr. Timer, could you please provide your report about times?
With pleasure.
Okay.
With pleasure, with or without applause, but the applause is always nice. Speeches, Dennis, 820, D, 543, Peter, 724. For our table topics, Good spoke for 139, Peter, 107, Hudaifa, 145. Speech evaluators, Jean, 329, Dan, 308, Emery, 330, and Veda, 241. And I will be keeping track of your evaluation later on at the end of the meeting to wrap everything up.
Okay,
Thank
thank you very much. Okay, so next, let's hear from our grammarian, Mr. Griffin.
Yeah, so tonight, the word of the day, tenacious. Jean said it once. Dennis used tenacious and tenacity, so you could count that as twice. And there were some pretty good phrases, like Dennis said, the DCP is the backbone of our club. Dan said he told us stories. Dee told us stories, and Dee, yeah, he used to like people of from all ilk, and Slim wasn't Slim. I still, and men were men, and sheep were nervous. Yeah. Peter used things like relationship sort of frosty. William was a odd man out, and when Emery, he got serious, he said, Peter got to the point. I like that. Right? And Will, when I say you, I mean you. And that's my report as grammarian. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Grammarian. Next to Ms. Counter, could you be Ms. Janet?
Thank you, everyone. So do we want a count of each and everything?
Yeah, just read the name and then go right across and go.
Okay. Dennis, one one like, one you know. Jean, one two ums. Now this is from throughout the thing. I didn't do separate. One so, two buts, and three ands. Dennis Gomez, one you know, one so, one but, one and two Xerox. Dan Craig, perfect.
Oh my God.
D, well, first time, it's okay. 7 uhs, 13 ums, 1 like, 5 you knows, 6 so's, 6 ands, 3 Xerox, and 1 false start. Not bad. Peter Armstrong, 1 3 you knows, 6 so's, 3 buts, 5 ands. Hudafa, nothing, perfect. Good. Had 1 3 ums, and an and. Peter, 1 1 you know, 1 so, 1 but, and 1 and. Veda, 1 like, 1 so, and 1 and. Hudafa did 2 so's at the end. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Bennett, you have a joke for us for tonight?
Why shouldn't you insult an octopus?
I don't know.
They're always well armed. Why did the golfer need new pants? Need new pants, yeah. Hole in one, yep.
Good, good.
Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you. it's my turn now to evaluate our evaluators. Thank you. I'll start with first evaluator, Ms. Jean. She has started with explaining the objectives of the speech, and she has greeted the audience and also the speaker. She has praised the good points that he in his speech, and she has an eye contact with everyone and plus with the speaker. She has used gestures when she explained and how to flip. My suggestion for her, I have a suggestion for you. When you use the stage, just step. It's not just sliding through the speech slowly. So make it more clear that I move to the next.
Purposeful.
Yeah. And a good point that she done today, she finished in the time. 3:92. So which is, sorry, 3:29. Sorry, yeah, which is excellent, yeah. And then I'll now step like this, yes, yeah. And next evaluator, her husband, Mr. Dan. He had read the objectives and also remind about the time for the speaker and for everyone. He had greeted D, and he had followed the manual to evaluate everything. He had praised all good points and focused on good side or on the strong side in his speech, and gave him a suggestion. My suggestion for Mr. Dan is maybe his evaluation is kind of formal. He stand like this and take the manual and reads like a speech in the Congress or somewhere. So he's still in the first speech, so we would like to have a friendly evaluation for him. Third evaluation or evaluator, Mr. Emery. He had read the objectives of the speech, and he had greeted the speaker and praised all good points and strong sides in his speech, and he has followed the manual and gave a couple of suggestions based on his experience as a writer or journalist. My suggestion for him is to use the stage, maybe since his evaluation had a couple of suggestions, so he might use that stage for praising and then suggestions. Last evaluator was Mr. Veda, evaluated the table topics for tonight. He had greeted the audience and the speakers and started with suggestions. And he had focused on the points that we need to develop in our speeches. My suggestion to Veda is to give some praise, especially for our guest, so he can come back again, and also give him some of my praise that you gave too much to me, and I thank you too much for the praise that you gave to me, and as a native speaker, give a praise to second tongue speaker. Thank you very much. And return to the table, Toastmaster. Okay. Thank you.
A round of applause. That was an excellent first time out as a general evaluator. I sit there and I'm kind of doing an evaluation of the general evaluator, evaluating the evaluators on my own, and that was really well done. So, okay, it's time for our awards for the evening. See, I have them all in my pocket here. Let's start with table topics. That's table topics. Yeah, okay, good. Yeah. Okay, so this is for displaying, you know, surprise parties, where you work, where you hang out. You know, you just hang this out. It's a conversation starter, and I know you'll do great with that after that conversation starts, right?
Exactly. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Good. All right. Yeah. Okay. Best evaluator. Jean Craig. Okay, Jean Craig.
I'm sorry, honey.
Of course, we always talk later, of course, yeah. All righty. And finally, our best speaker. Dee. Awesome. And I'm going to give you, this is also for you, your icebreaker speech.
So I get a double whammy.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and you know, you can hang those in your studio, you can put them anywhere, yeah, okay. So that's the idea. We also would like to have Peter come up for his ribbon for Get to the Point. All right. And with that, I'll ask our president to come back up. Looks like we're right about on time. Warm it up, my president.
I appreciate all of you being here, all of your participation. Great speeches tonight. Excellent first speech. So very well done. We're all glad to have you joining and working your way up. Great to have you as a guest. Good. Welcome. We're very glad to have you. What are your thoughts?
I'm glad that I came. And this is I think it's my second time being here. Actually, yeah, I think so. The first time I came was probably like 2 years ago, and I went to table topic that night too. So
Nice. There you go.
Yeah, you tell me much more about being a member.
Yeah. Wow.
yeah, so and another, I really want to get better at being a public speaker. I perform, but I want to be a greater public speaker and motivator and influencer. And so I feel like Toastmasters could help me in that process.
Yeah, it's a great deal, and we'll be proud to have you join. And feel free anytime. Come back next week. Yeah.
Do my best.
Thank you. Good. Thank you. One announcement I have for everyone is on March 13th, Tuesday, March 13th at 7:30 p.m. right here will be our club contest. So that date is scheduled. I will read the list briefly on who we have scheduled right now. Table topic contestant, I have interest expressed from Miranda for that so far. So we need clearly contestants. Volunteers for role players, we have Prana, we have Peter, and we have Will right now. And then we have Emery. You also mentioned, yes, correct, yep. Thank you, Emery. I saw your email earlier. You're right. And Dan, you volunteer as a role player, contestant. Okay, so Dan, and then Fraser. Okay. So Dan, Fraser. So what we will need to do, and we will be organizing that. And G, you had an announcement?
Well, I was just gonna come up and sort of do something with this to kind of get, is that all right?
Come on up.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, 'cause we're
absolutely.
2 weeks
Please
out
do.
and, you know,
Yes.
we've got time.
Okay. Okay, this is the whipping into shape. All right, so who do we have table topics? Right now, we only have Miranda.
Yep.
Okay, we need contestants to be in this. Now, this is fun. This is the club contest. It's all just us. Table topics. I mean, it's just like what we do here. So you really shouldn't be afraid to be involved. So we need some contestants for that. Now, inspiration speech, that's a 5 to 7 minute speech. It can actually be fulfilling one of your manual requirements. So if you want to be thinking of like, look at your competent communicator, be thinking of what we could do. But we want to have at least 2, I mean, heck, more, 2 or more contestants for that. Do I have anyone who's, could commit to doing a speech, inspirational in 2 weeks? Okay, so D's down. Oh, sorry, you know what? Let me get one caveat. You have to have done 6, thank you, D. D's breaking the ice like he did on his speech. You have to have done 6 projects or more in the competent communicator. It's the one sort of qualifier.
So that means I know.
That means we have to wait,
Okay, sure.
but you get points.
Table topics.
So you just qualify for table topics.
Yeah, if you want.
Yes, do you want to do table topics? That's what we were just doing with, you get the question and then you have a 1 to 2 minute speech.
Okay. You can explain to me later.
Okay, yeah, but good. Okay, so we've got D down as a contestant. We need more contestants. Peter, what do you want to contest in?
I can only contest in table topics.
Table topics, all right, Peter. Okay. This is why we want to do this now, because you still have 2 weeks. Just organize a speech. Yes, Janet? Table topics, all right. Okay. Can't do that. Okay, we need some speeches though. Who's up for speaking? Emery, do you have any people? Who's already signed up for a speech in the competent communicator? Can't do, yeah, I know, we gotta get over 6 or more. Hudaifa? Great, okay, Hudaifa's down. Now, we don't wanna leave him alone. So who else is gonna go?
I could just do it myself.
Yeah, so Fraser, you wanna go? Why not?
I'm speaking next week.
He's up right.
He's speaking next to Veda?
You can repeat your speech.
Can I?
Yeah,
Yes,
you can.
You can repeat any of the
You
speeches.
can, this is not, this is, okay, so there's Fraser.
What is the topic?
It is an inspirational kind of,
Okay,
it's whatever you
okay.
want.
Okay, put me up.
5 to 7 minutes, exactly. Data, were you raising your hand? Or was I just imagining that?
Me?
Yeah,
I have some conflicts for the next 4 weeks, so I'm not sure what I can do.
okay, so I won't do it. I practiced the gentle twist. The gentle twist. Okay, anyway, so we've got at least 2, Hudaifa and Fraser.
I'd like to do table topics.
Okay, we're getting a lot of table topics here, not that we can't handle that. Dennis, okay. All right, so here we go. We've at least got a contest now in both categories. Really like to see one more speech be up here. All right, so we need a Toastmaster, we'll get to that. We need a chief judge. Who can do chief judge? Art's out of town. Emery, you know how to do chief judge?
I told Dennis I would do whatever is needed.
Okay, that's a big one.
I don't want to do a big one.
You don't want to do a big one?
I'll take.
Okay, you know how to do chief judge, right? Okay, chief judge is Will. Okay, you just have to have the form, get the forms, and yeah, they're all online.
I've done it all the time. I've been here 6 years. I've done it all before.
I know, just reminding. Okay, then we need 2 timers. We need a main timer and a backup timer. It's like you each check each other.
I could be a timer.
Okay, so chief timer, okay, good, is, now here's the thing, Emery can do that. Now, if you're a competitor, you can't. So we may have to look at this a little bit. So backup timer, and we may have to get creative. Okay, so we need backup timer, and then we need ballot counter, 2 ballot counters. Okay, ballot counters. I will find myself in there somewhere. Dan, are you interested? What do you want to do? Are you gonna be a judge? We need judge. Okay, judge. Okay, Dan is gonna be a judge, and then Dan will be a judge. So now we can have judges from one contest who's not like, so Hudaifa, you could be a judge for table topics, for example, because you're not in table topics. Okay, so I'm going to put you down there. You'll be good there. And Fraser is also, you could be a table topics judge because you're in the inspiration. You're doing a speech. We have to do it. We have to shoulder the load. We have to do the load. Okay. So, all right, I'll keep that in mind, you know, but I'll keep that in mind. But Hudaifa's doing it too. So Jean can be in there somewhere. Maybe Jean's a judge. Okay. Who else do we have?
I can judge for inspirational.
You could judge for inspirational.
Yeah.
Good.
There's always
Dennis.
somebody else.
And then,
It's not for me.
you know, Peter, you want to judge? That would be good. We'd have 4 judges. It's a good thing to learn. It actually helps gear your brain a little bit in a different way. Okay, so Peter's good. Okay.
Are there requirements for a judge in the book? This one?
Not really, but we have judge timing. Training. Training ahead of time. So the contest starts at 7:30. Everyone's here at 7, and then we go into the training. So we'll be doing the training.
I'll be an expert.
Yeah, it's good. So I could be Toastmaster. Should I just be Should I just be contest master or whatever? Contest master.
As long as you're okay with it.
I'm just.
It's up to you.
I've got a hurt paw here. Contest master. Okay. All righty, good. So we're past time now.
Yeah.
But we felt like we had to hold you to feet to the fire to get some things here. So we'll keep filling this out. People work on your speech. Hudaifa and Fraser, if anyone else would like to do it. Good. If you if you want to join between now and then, you're welcome to compete in table topics. You're not allowed to win. We may have to not make that not happen.
I don't think you can stop it.
No, I'm just kidding. Okay, good. All right, well, thank you.
Is there any other topic
Gotta go.
of business?
The Easy Speak guide sheets are on the table. Pick one up on your way out if you didn't get one last week.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you for printing those out, Emery. Anyone else? Meeting adjourned.